Hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the Reaching Out channel with my special guest. I know you just thought I was making it up, but I do actually have a husband, and here he is. I was very pleased that we exited together. It certainly made life much easier coming out as a couple. It certainly hasn't been easy, has it? But
No.
At least we've always been of one mind, and we've been able to talk things through. And the reason I've persuaded him to join me on this video, we've got Brother Splain to thank for that with the latest JW broadcast on the subject of overlapping generations, which is a subject very close to our hearts.
Very close.
You might recall that we wrote to Brooklyn Bethel in January 2014 and waited 5 months to get a reply from Bethel. And I think I might let you take over from here, love. What do you think?
Yeah, okay. Well, the first point that I wanted to bring out was the fact that when they gave us their reply, which was in May of 2014, so we had to wait 5 months for this. I just wanted to bring out a couple of other points that wasn't brought out in one of the earlier videos. And in the last paragraph, they said that since the date for the end of this system has been set by Jehovah long ago, our adjusted understanding of Jesus' words does not put off the end by 1 second. Matthew 24, verse 36. However, that is in response to when we mentioned in the letter that when I studied the Live Forever book in the mid-80s, this is what it said regarding the end of the world is at hand on chapter 18, page 154, paragraph 8. This is what we said in our letter to the governing body, or at least Brooklyn Bethel anyway. After drawing attention to the many things that have marked the period from 1914 onward, Jesus said this generation will by no means pass away until all these things, including the end of the system, occur. Matthew 24, 34 and 14. Which generation did Jesus mean? He meant the generation of people who were living in 1914. Those persons yet remaining of that generation are now very old. However, some of them will still be alive to see the end of this wicked system. So of this we can be certain. Shortly now there will be a sudden end to all wickedness and wicked people at Armageddon.
I noticed that we put those last 2 paragraphs in red bold.
Yes, we did.
Just so that they didn't miss it.
But interestingly, well, they said that the end of the system would occur from that original idea of the generation. But so obviously that everyone would have been at the end of the system at that point. But as it says, I'll say it again in the end of this letter, since the date for the end of this system has been set by Jehovah long ago, our adjusted understanding of Jesus' words does not put off the end by 1 second. But clearly it does.
Clearly it does.
Clearly it does, because that original understanding, that generation, as we know, has already passed away. So how they can say it's not put off the end by 1 second is slightly confusing. However, that's just a little point that I wanted to bring out from our letter.
Yes. And something that I also sort of skimmed over in my previous video was we pointed out about an article of the Watchtower in 1995, which was entitled "A Time to Keep Awake." Shall I read that
Yeah, if you want to
That's
know the
how.
reference, that's the 1st of
November.
page 19, paragraph 8.
And this is what the Watchtower had to say then. It said, "Is anything to be gained then by looking for dates or by speculating about the literal lifetime of a generation? Far from it!" Exclamation mark. Habakkuk 2 verse 3 clearly states, "The vision is yet for the appointed time, and it keeps panting on to the end, and it will not tell a lie. Even if it should delay, keep in expectation of it, for it will without fail come true, it will not be late. Jehovah's day of accounting hastens ever closer."
Yeah, so then, after quoting what it said in that Watchtower of 1995, we then stated as a last point, or one of the last points in our letter, "Yet the Watchtower of 1st of January 2014 is speculating about how long this generation may last, with the addition of the idea that there are two groups of anointed, which overlap and will have a definite end. It states Jesus' words at Matthew 24:34 give us confidence that at least some of this generation will by no means pass away before seeing the start of the Great Tribulation." And we said that this indicates that a time scale can indeed be calculated. So our thinking was that if you can say that there's going to be a generation which lasts a certain amount of time, there's only a finite amount of time that can last. If there's an overlapping generation, there's only a finite amount of time that can last. And they're saying that that's the case. But in that case, when you work it out logically or take it through to its logical conclusion, if you know how long a generation is going to last, which let's say at the most is, say 100 years by their reckoning, then you've got there in front of you a formula for working out how long it is before the end of the system occurs, or at least that's the very far end of it. If not, it's going to happen sooner. So
We've got a guest.
We've got a moth. So really, they're saying that they know the end is going to occur before the end of that second overlapping generation. So to say that it's only Jehovah that knows the time that the end is going to take place, well, that might be true, but they're saying that they know it's going to happen before a certain time. And I just wanted to make that point from the letter.
Yeah. So that brings us on to the JW broadcasting video that came out this week, which we really enjoyed watching. It was very entertaining.
Very.
Do you think that video has brought us any closer to an answer to our original letter to Brooklyn Bethel? Well,
I think obviously they've had so many queries about this question, about what is this thing about the overlapping generation. They've obviously had to come up with this way of trying to explain it. But just something that I thought of when I was watching it was when they were bringing out this chart, this cardboard chart, and a wooden pointer stick thing, is that
yes,
they've just spent, I don't know, how much do you think they spent in that studio? The
JW
Broadcasting studio?
A lot of donations went into building that studio.
A lot of money. You'd have thought they would at least have had their fancy background with graphics that they could do, with nice graphics, and maybe even a PowerPoint presentation.
No way.
With a laser pointer.
But
no, it's gone back to a 1970s, a 1970s science Christmas lecture style presentation of the chart, with a wooden chart and with a wooden stick. And if you'd put it in black and white, turn that video into black and white, it wouldn't have looked out of place.
No, it wouldn't, would it?
From the 1970s or something.
Yes, that is very true.
So, yeah, it didn't make it any clearer whatsoever. In fact, to me, it actually made it more complicated.
More confusing than ever. And I suppose what I was most disappointed with was that, yet again, there was no emphasis on scripture.
No, there was no scriptures, apart from the one in Exodus that they brought out. But again, that was something that we referred to in our letter.
We knew about that scripture.
That we wanted to, be able, if we were to go out on the ministry and talk to people about this, we wanted to be able to explain clearly, by using the scriptures, how we could explain this overlapping generation. And I think, that's what really made me, my conscience think, no, I can't do that, because unless I can open the Bible and explain that from the scriptures directly, I'm not going to go out and represent what they have to say. So what we said again in our letter was, having analysed the paragraphs carefully, that we were struck by the total lack of scriptural references to support this new thought. As keen Bible students, we are accustomed to using the Bible as our only authority, and indeed skillfully sharing Bible truths with others on the ministry. As a collective, we follow closely the example of Jesus, who always said, "It is written." In addition, the August the 15th Watchtower of 2006 states in the article, "Let us compare Scripture with Scripture," and this is where it said, "Yes, sincere Bible students in the 19th and early 20th centuries were simply restoring this Christian pattern. The tradition of comparing scriptures with other scriptures continues in the Watchtower magazine, 2 Thessalonians 2:15. Jehovah's Witnesses use this principle when they analyse a scripture." But they only had one scripture, the scripture in Exodus, referring to Joseph and his brothers. So we said this new thought is simply introduced to readers with the words, "we understand." It is therefore deeply troubling to our Bible-trained consciences that no scriptures, comparing of scriptures, references or parallels of any kind were provided in support. And, I might have hoped that after all this time they might have come up with some other supporting evidence, but...
and yet Brother Splain used very similar language in the video, didn't he? He said, "Now, we're not trying to say such and such, but we understand, evidently." It's that same vague language used time and time again that we've found so frustrating.
And you'll notice that he didn't once have the Bible in his hand when he was presenting that material. So he couldn't go to the scripture and say, "Here it is, it says this, and we believe that this is correct because all these other scriptures point to exactly the same thing." And unless you can do that, then really, well, as lots of people know, it's just something that they appear to have just made up, just because they had to. Yeah.
I think that the conclusion that I've come to is, every year that goes on and every time they bring out new light, that they like to call it, we're getting further and further away from the roots of the organisation of being Bible students. I think when they originally set out, they were very sincere in trying to uncover the simple Bible truths, and they've gone so far away from that now that it's completely unrecognisable.
Indeed. So that was our thoughts for this video. Hope you've enjoyed listening to it.
Thanks for watching. Take care. See you later.